A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Today we'll be focusing on the art of storytelling and the science of innovation because creativity is what drives how entrepreneurs build brands that last. On the show tonight, we'll be first in conversation with Ravishankar Iyer, author and storytelling coach, on how storytelling can shape leadership and results. And in the second segment, a special conversation lined up with Chef Saransh Goila, who's bringing his culinary creativity to product innovation through Ember, a homegrown cookware brand. But before we get into the episode, here's our cover story for today. Now, SME IPOs are making headlines. As of November 2025, about 10 SME issues this year have already doubled or tripled investor wealth. The SME market itself is no longer small. In August 2025, BSE announced that it crossed 600 SME listings collectively with over 10 crore rupees raised. And listings are no longer limited to Mumbai or NCR. Gujarat is now a major hotspot. FY22 saw just around 70 SME listings. That number jumped to 197 in FY24, and by November 25, we are already tracking past 230 listings. But dig deeper, the real story is more nuanced. According to the Nifty SME Emerge Index, over the last 12 months, this segment has not consistently outperformed the main board. Earlier this year, SEBI tightened SME listing rules because of thin floats, weak governance and liquidity risks. In other words, a dream listing can still crash. Several SME IPOs listed between October and November 2025 posted volatile starts. This tells us that gains are selective and volatility is high. For SMEs, it's important to make sure the use of proceeds is clear. Use it for growth, working capital or debt reduction, not promoter exits. Build strong governance and disclosures. For investors, do your homework. Don't just chase hype. Study the company, who owns it, what it sells, and whether it can keep growing. Remember, this isn't just about riches overnight, it's about sustainable equity growth. Ravi, welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow. Pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you so much, Ritika. Thank you for having me.
So to begin with, Ravi, you have coached leaders across global companies on using storytelling to drive results. Why do you think storytelling has become such an essential skill for business leaders today?
There are many reasons, Ritika, but I'd like to start with a question. In 2015, Microsoft in Canada did a study on the average human attention span. Can you guess how many minutes it was as per that study?
A few seconds?
8 seconds. With so many devices and apps, our attention spans are low and falling. That is one big reason why storytelling is such an essential skill for all leaders. In a meeting, you may have access to your audience's time. You don't necessarily have access to their attention.
Sure.
Your story has to be clear and engaging enough to hold their attention. A second big reason for why storytelling matters more today is because of the explosion of data. Think about it, right? 2000s, a movie producer would only know how many people are watching their movie. Today, Netflix knows so much more. They know who's watching, when are they watching, when do they pause, when do they fast forward. The quantum of data in every sector is insane. But it's no use having all this data without the ability to tell a clear story from it. If data is the new oil, storytelling is the new refinery.
Right. Many entrepreneurs often struggle to explain their vision clearly, whether to investors, customers, or even their teams. What's the most common storytelling mistake founders make when pitching or communicating their ideas?
As a founder, your story is not about you, your product, your team, or your metrics. It's about your audience. The biggest mistake that founders do is not keeping that audience front and center of their story. For example, as a founder, you could say, hey, we have a modern data intelligence platform. Why don't you buy it from us? Or instead, they could say this to a potential D2C client.
Sure.
Imagine this. It's just before Diwali. Your D2C brand has exploded on Instagram. Orders are flowing in from Kochi to Kanpur. And every time a customer is clicking, browsing, or abandoning a cart or buying, you are getting more data. But here's the issue. That data is only useful if you understand your customer better. Our modern data intelligence platform turns every customer action into a business insight, helping you design better products, reduce churn, and meet your growth targets. Let me tell, let me know when do you want to book a demo. Isn't the second version better? If you connect your story with your audience's story, your audience will connect with you.
So, how can leaders make their communication stand out and feel authentic rather than just pitch perfect?
So I think, Ritvika, that most accomplished leaders forget that sharing your mistakes can sometimes increase your stature. People don't want perfect, they want real. In my extensive work with leaders across sectors, I've seen them use multiple ways to make their communication feel more authentic. One thing is to show your true self. A great example is this leader called Ritwika Gupta, who's the CEO of Edelweiss Mutual Fund, who's a foodie and a movie buff. If you look at her writings, her speeches, her interviews, they are peppered with food and movie analogies. And she narrates them with a refreshing and genuine enthusiasm. Right? It makes her feel really human.
Ravi, you earlier mentioned, and even your LinkedIn bio says, data is the new oil, storytelling is the new refinery. So, what is your advice to business leaders who want to use numbers to tell a story without overwhelming their audience with too much data? Could you share one or two simple frameworks that startup founders or MSMEs could use right away?
So, I'll tell you a dirty secret of data storytelling. You need to know how to bluff with your data. Sorry, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about lying with your data. Bluff here, BLUF, stands for bottom line upfront. It's an approach where we lead with the key answer upfront instead of keeping it for later. It's a technique that I mentioned in my book Story Rules, which talks about the timeless techniques of storytelling that leaders can use to win at work. Coming back to bluff. For example, let's say in a data presentation, you want to present some numbers. Let's say I want to say in spam filter tests, alpha could filter 88% of spam, while beta could filter 67%. In terms of time, alpha took about 450 milliseconds, while beta took about 300 milliseconds.
Right.
I'm sure you're lost now and thinking, when is the next coffee break? Instead of that, if I could just say in spam filter tests, alpha is more accurate and beta is faster. Let me tell you more. Isn't the second version better?
So, for many small businesses or family-led enterprises that may not have marketing teams, how can founders start applying storytelling in their day-to-day communication, or perhaps on social media, or maybe with clients or even suppliers?
I'm so glad you asked this, Ritvika, because it's a very important skill that every CEO must master. Every CEO, I believe, has an additional designation, that of the Chief Storytelling Officer. And as a CSO, founders could share three categories or three types of stories, right? One is the category or the market story. Two is the company story. And three is the CXO or the personal story. A great example of a founder who does this really well is Shashank Mehta of the Whole Truth Foods. If you look at his work on LinkedIn or on other platforms, he will talk about the category, which is of healthy eating, right? And he will make you realize that it's important to know the ingredients, to read the labels.
Sure.
He'll also talk about his company, the products, the employees, the customers. Finally, he also talks about his own personal journey, about how he has taken his own health transformation as a mission and how the importance of restoring the world's trust in food is such an important and personal mission for him.
Sure.
So, of all the multiple hats that a founder wears, maybe one of the most important ones is that of the Chief Storytelling Officer. So, please make sure you wear it well.
Absolutely. Storytelling is often viewed as a soft skill, but how does it directly impact hard business metrics like sales, hiring, or fundraising? How can leaders quantify the ROI of storytelling?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, Ritvika, right? So, because people do have this sense of, oh, it's a soft skill, does it really matter? It definitely matters, right? In my work with 10,000 plus leaders across companies and nonprofits, I've seen time and again that good storytelling is not just a nice to have soft skill. It's a must have power skill that has tangible benefits. Let me share a few examples, right? So many years back, I'd done a workshop for a travel services company, and there was a leadership team there. One of the guys who had attended was a very quiet, unassuming, introverted guy, right? Let me call him Nitesh. The others were there, they were more extroverted, outgoing, confident. And later, the company engaged me for a coaching exercise, one on one coaching exercise for all these leaders for an upcoming business review presentation. And to make it interesting, they said that the best presentation will get an award.
Right.
Now, when the one on one coaching sessions were happening, there was one participant who was the most intense and active. That was Nitesh. He kept asking me a lot of questions, did a lot of follow up, etc. Right? And so when the final reviews happened, No prizes for guessing who won the award. Not the outgoing ones, not the confident speakers. It was Nitish. It's not just about awards. Storytelling has tangible benefits for everyone, especially those who are fundraising. I worked with over 200 plus nonprofits and startups, enabling them to raise hundreds of millions of rupees in funding. And it all boils down to the quality of the story.
So, Ravi, we are living in the age of AI, and as AI generated content becomes more common, what happens to the human art of storytelling? Do you see tech as a threat or a tool to elevate the way leaders communicate?
So I think AI is magical. It's a wonderful tool, right? It can transform our storytelling. But I also feel that it is important to be aware of its limitations. And leaders need to use AI as a springboard, not as a hammock or a crutch. I keep reminding myself that AI is the co pilot. We are the pilot. And when I see examples of leaders doing this well, I see three, four ways in which leaders use to make AI work for them in a smart way, right? So, one is human first drafts. The first draft is the thinking draft. Do not outsource that to AI. Good storytellers write the first draft themselves, whatever way it may be complex, messy, incomplete, that's fine, but use it and then use AI to edit it and sharpen your words, right? First draft is yours. Second way is that better prompting. The prompts are the most important thing, right? You're only as good as your prompts. In order to prompt better, you need to improve your own storytelling skills vocabulary, right? If you don't know what are the right storytelling techniques, how will you prompt AI better?
And finally, tell us, you have spent years helping others tell their stories better. But what's the one story that has shaped you as a leader and storyteller?
So there are several stories, Ritika, but this one comes to mind. It was about 2017, and I was big time into Twitter. It was called Twitter then. Podcasts, newsletters, reading, books, all of that is multiple forms of content consumption. And I was just once chatting about it with a cousin of mine, trying to, tell him, hey, you should also do this. A bit of a show off mode I was in. So I told him, hey, you must get on Twitter, right? It's fascinating. You can follow all these leaders. Also, the Kindle is amazing. Yeah, you can carry your books everywhere. Plus, have you tried podcasts? They are so insightful. You can listen to them even while driving, walking, doing something else. All of this I said. He paused and he said, तू इतना पढ़ता है तो सोचता कब है? If you read so much, when do you get the time to think? I had no response. I realized that day that just copious consumption was not going to improve my work. To create better, I needed to spend more time on reflection and then also write.
Well, thank you, Ravi. This was a very different and an interesting conversation. It was so good to speak to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ritwika. Thanks for having me.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. In this segment, we feature celebrity chef and entrepreneur Chef Saransh Goila. He speaks to my colleague Hrishita Kumar about homegrown cookware brand Ember and how he's bringing a fresh perspective to cookware innovation. Listen in.
Hi Saransh, thank you for joining us on Leaders of Tomorrow. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me over. Pretty excited and happy to be here, especially to speak about something that I truly love.
Now Saransh, what was it about Ember's vision that resonated with you, and how will your hands-on culinary experience inform the brand's product innovation?
For me, the connection was pretty immediate and also deeply personal because the first time when I saw the Ember pots and pans, and I had spoken to Himanshi, who's one of the co-founders at Ember, she said that they were not just building a product and they were on a mission to solve the cookware problem. And that sort of stuck with me because I think I have been wanting to be on a mission myself to solve the cookware problem. As a chef and as a home cook, I've always believed that the right tools are an extension to your craft, right? But the real game changer is the fact that Ember came and told me that they are the first 100% non-toxic, non-stick cookware brand that existed in India. And my mom, she's been dealing with this autoimmune condition for a long time now, which is 7 years. And while we were looking into everything, all aspects of our life, and we realized, of course, kitchen is the number one aspect when it comes to autoimmune conditions. So it's not just about what you eat, but it's also about how you cook.
Now, Indian kitchens come with very specific demands. How will the Innovation Lab translate these nuances into cookware that competes on a global stage?
I think that is a real challenge. What has happened in the past is that cookware has been designed, the cookware that we get has been designed for the world, and then we use it for Indian cooking. And that is a core challenge, I think, and that's where also the opportunity lies, that Indian cooking is very demanding. Um, it is high intensity. We saute our sabzi. Like our sabzi is not sauteing greens. Our sabzi is searing, caramelizing. We will take a palta and keep bhunoing it, make sauces for hours. We've typically not always designed, when I talk about a modern kitchen, for the Indian kitchen. And I think we have to translate that unique demand, but we also want the global appeal. So it is a tough one. I'm very glad that there is Brett Record, who's one of the partners at Ember, who runs his design agency in the US, and he is a master designer. Like I once saw him sketching literally a pan on a notebook when I started explaining to him that this is my vision of the ultimate Indian kadhai. And the fact that he was able to translate that vision onto a paper just by a stocking, I think it was just fabulous. So I think we are very lucky that we have people from across the world working on this, where the product is currently being designed in Italy, is being designed in the US, but it is being designed for India, where we have an lab that is being run by an Indian chef. So I think it's a great sort of team effort. Um, uh, and what we do is we sort of put these products through the ultimate sort of Indian kitchen test. We are experimenting when we do like our product testing. We will cook multiple dosas on a tawa and see how it behaves.
Well, that sounds great, Saransh. But premium cookware often carries a perception of exclusivity. How do you plan to marry cutting edge innovation with broader accessibility for Indian households?
If you look at generationally at Indian kitchens, people want to, they have like hand me down pots and pans. Like I still know that my mom loves that kadai because it's been handed over to her from my grandmom. So we know that there was space for stainless steel, cast iron utensils, which are great. But a lot of people still don't use those because in today's the millennials or the Gen Z consumer is not looking at those ranges unless they meet the global standards, right? They cook a lot on reels now. People make a lot of content. People want to showcase what is in their kitchen. They want to get their little kadhai or the biryani pot on their dining table after they have cooked in it. So people like to show off things like these. And so if your pot and pan in your kitchen does not meet the requirement, you might end up buying something that is not fully clean for you, might be toxic.
Absolutely.
But the fact is that I think the current generation is not looking to buy things because they are just beautiful or they are just cheap. I think they care about the fact that if they get a high-end product which can live for years, and eventually, when you will look at it, it will, from an Indian consumer point, I fully get it. Like if I had to spend 3 or 4 thousand on buying a kadhai, I would hesitate. But if I knew that that kadhai could last me for an X amount of years, because when you buy a cheap kadhai, it will sort of wear off. You will keep buying every 12 months a new one, and it happens to a lot of people. Like the number one question my friends ask me, or my on my feed when I post recipes, is that which pan do you use or which pot do you use? It looks the same every time you use it, and the fact is that you have to take care of it. That goes without say.
Okay.
You have to take, like how people take good care of their cars, they have to take good care of their cookware.
Now, the landscape of Indian cookware is evolving rapidly, so much so that is expected to reach $2 billion by 2030. How do you envision Ember redefining the space over the next few years?
As in, clearly, there is a large space, and I believe there is space for everyone. I think we want to head the mission for our Arcilla ceramic sort of coating and cookware, because we've been able to figure how you're able to cook without making things that are toxic, that are non-stick at the same time. Many times people would tell you that if something is non-stick, it can't be non-toxic. Or if something is non-toxic, it cannot be non-stick. And I think that is a space that we want to redefine in the next few years.
Well, the Indian home cooking landscape is also evolving quite rapidly. How should technology and design in cookware adapt? And what role do you think Ember will play in shaping this evolution?
If I had to look at it from a consumer's sort of landscape, because we're talking about home cooking, um, ultimately, when you're cooking at home, you are looking for ghar ka khana, right? While yes, some of us also experiment, and we are design savvy. People are looking for beautiful pots and pans. I think the Gen Z audience or the millennial audience, which is our sort of core audience, likes the fact that we are able to communicate to them directly as to what is the process of building this uh, pan, kadahi, or pot that you have in front of you. So we don't hide things from them, which means we tell them that what is this technology like? For instance, whether it's how does it become non-stick? What does thermoclad technology mean? That how can it help you to do energy efficiency, or how that thermoclad technology is important for budgeting and sustainability at the same time.
Now, Saransh, as both an investor and a strategic partner, how do you see your role shaping Ember's growth trajectory beyond just product design?
As an investor, I would like to believe that I bring in confidence. As a chef who has been dealing with professional kitchens and home kitchens all my life, I think I want to put money where my mouth is, literally. And I think clean kitchen, it has been my mission. As I mentioned, because of my mom, it sort of became something that I personally wanted to be on. So I think brand credibility and trust is something that I would want to build by sort of leveraging my culinary platform, speaking to my community, talking to them about non-toxic cookware, in fact, a non-toxic lifestyle, which is something that I personally want to work on.
Lastly, you have had your own share of experience with entrepreneurship with Goila Butter Chicken. Tell us about some key lessons you learned in the culinary entrepreneurial landscape.
With Goila Butter Chicken, I think one thing that it's like a life lesson that I learned, which is consistency. You have to show up every day of your life to make a change, or to grow something that you believe in. You could be a master in your art, you could be the best designer in the world, you could put your best foot forward, but if you are not consistent,
Okay.
things fall flat. And then to be consistent, there are like many sort of tentacles that come out of consistency. You have to be patient to be consistent. You have to be hardworking to be consistent.
Thank you for sharing a very detailed perspective, Saransh. It was great to have you on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you. My pleasure.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.